Okay, welcome back to part two of this chair. Where we left it, we'd got the inside back, the inside arms done, and we're just about ready to start putting the seat back in. We're going to reuse the foam that came with the chair. There wasn't much wrong with it. I may add just a little bit more fill into the middle, and we will Lux bond it anyway as we would do normally. The seat has got a canvas on it, but that was the effort that was involved in the canvas, so we will put a new canvas on the seat. The canvas is, in my opinion, very important. A lot of manufacturers aren't putting the canvases back in, they're putting the foam straight over the springs or the webbing, and that's why their seats collapse relatively quickly, because the foam gets cut by the movement, or the webbing cuts the foam by the movement of the seat compressing up and down, and the foam goes through the gaps. If there's canvas on it, it protects the foam from the wear of the springs of the webbing, and it's never going to fall through. So eventually the canvas will rot, but we're talking a very long time here to do that. So for the sake of a bit of scrap fabric, which is what we will use, manufacturers, stop being lazy, put canvas back into your seats. Having said that, it's not to say that all manufacturers don't put canvas in their seats, so there's a caveat there. If you're one of those manufacturers that aren't, do. Right, I seem to have put my scissors down. Right, I'll get a piece of canvas cut and fixed in, and I'll come back to you when we're putting the foam in. Right, so we've got the canvas on the seat. Just a scrap bit of fabric left over. That's all it takes. I've put the seat foam in, and to be honest with you, there's not much wrong with that. I don't want to add any additional foam to it, so we're just going to put this in, and we're going to put a layer of Lux Bond over the top of it. So let's put this back in where it came from. So pull the foam down. So I'm going to glue the Lux Bond on, because the front edge of this foam has started to come away a little bit, so we don't want that. So I'll just tuck that down there to protect that, so we can put some glue in the centre and over the front edge. This is just a web fix glue. You can get it in the small tins. We obviously don't buy it like that anymore. We buy it in the larger tins. But it's the same stuff. So sometimes used in carpet fitters trade. It's the same stuff that they would use to glue your carpet down, or vinyl floorings, as far as I'm aware. So pull that open. Right, I'm going to cut a little bit of this Lux Bond off, rather than trying to tuck it all down the side of the arms, because there is a limited gap down here. I want to maintain it to be able to get the seat itself down, so we don't want to be filling it up with Lux Bond. So we'll cut some of this off. plenty of room down the back there from the new back that we put in. So it's a wrap over seat. Does exactly as it says on the tin. The front edge of the seat just rolls over, wraps over the edge of the frame. I'm going to need to mark the centre, or I could just go by eye using the centre of the inside back that's marked here to the centre of the seat, but for this purpose we will mark it. And I don't know if you'll see that from there, but that black mark on the seat here is the centre, and it's obviously the centre of the inside back. So we'll mark the centre of the front because we don't want it to deviate. Start with 30. And there's a centre line for the front of the seat. Be careful marking with felt tip pens of any sort. It could draw through your fabric. It's not going to happen with this one because it's very thick fabric, and I've used it previously on jobs and no, that's not going to be an issue. So laying my seat on, got plenty of fabric to tuck down the back. Sides, checking my front is central. So I am just temporarily getting everything into place before I make a single cut. Tuck down the sides, hold it back, and then I can start making some cuts. So the first job is to staple the back off, cuts on either side at the back, pull it to the front, then I can make these cuts on the side of the seat and pull that off as well. Okay, so I'll come back to you when that's done. There you have it, the seat's done. Nice firm seat. See underneath there. So you've got your springs, webbing, and then the canvas on it, and then the foam on top. So that seat's going to last them a good while. The next step is really to do the outside arms. I think with the outside arms is what I'm going to do is cut them to shape and pipe this edge, and then we get a nice uniform curve here. We'll do them both exactly the same. Then I tend to leave the facings till last. So then once I've done the outside arms, do the outside back. That's not going to need any piping along it, but before we put the outside back on, I need to do the head roll, I need to do the head roll because that bolts through or screws through the bottom here. So we can't put the outside back on, otherwise we're not going to have access to do that. So first off, I'll cut the outside arms, pipe them up, we can get them on. So I'll just get the first one cut, or get the outside arms cut, come back to you and show you putting the outside arms on as the next job. It's coming along nicely. This chair is going to be a smashing piece of furniture when it's done. I think the customers are going to be very pleased with it. It's nice that they've stepped out their comfort zone for this one. I think it'll be worth it. So we'll be back soon. Right, we've got the outside arms cut. There's one. And we've got the piping sewn along the edge. So we're going to fold this over and staple along the join here. It won't be seen, but we'll give it a go. I've normally would do this whilst it's laid on its side because it's easier for me to work this way rather than upright, but for this purpose, so you can see what's going on, I'll do this one stood upright. Okay, so first off I'm just going to put some Lux Bond over this so it's nice and soft touch. So again, a Lux Bond over the side. Let's get a couple of staples in there and cut that to shape. I seem to have misplaced my cutting shears today. I don't know what I've done with them. So cutting shears are 10-inch long tailor's style shears, and I've put them down somewhere and I can't find them. That's a bit more awkward with my upholstery shears. I've not shown you these before, but these are the ones that I use. These are often used in a specialist trade for cutting Kevlar and things like that. So they've got a lot of leverage and a small cutting edge, because 9 times out of 10 we're only cutting into corners and stuff like that. So these will cut through a lot thicker, heavier fabrics than the 10-inch ones because of the leverage that's involved. So these are cracking. I've used these for many years now. I think it was one of my old work colleagues that first put me onto these 25 years ago, so I've been using them since. Rather than the long shears, these I find better for general upholstery anyway. So, anyway, I digress. Right, so we get the Lux Bond stapled on. We'll cut off some of the salvage, just leaving it overhanging the edge of the timber. So when we take the timber, the fabric underneath the frame, we get a nice soft edge. Right. Check we've got some staples. Let's start off ironing where this is going to go. My apologies, I forgot me back to you. So I'm going to start off up here. A couple of staples along the piping. In fact, I'm going to change my staples and use the longer ones, just so I'm certain that it's not going to go anywhere. So, a couple in there, lay the fabric round and the piping, making the pipings in the right direction. Staple in there, that end. Pull this down, a little bit of tension. So then we've got the fabric in its position and the piping. So So then a case of just stapling along here. So I'm stapling along the stitch line into the frame that's underneath. It's a quick, secure, simple way of attaching this. You're not going to see the staples. If you can see the staples, you're doing it wrong, and therefore you need to find a better way of doing it if you can't do it that way. But yeah, it's quick, simple. Can't see the staples, so I'm more than happy with that. Finish off the top. This piping comes round the back, so let's pipe it around the front. Right, there we have it. See this top edge. So I need to split the stitch in there. I'm going to cut the piping cord out of the piping. I'll show you better on this bit of scrap. So what I mean by that is we've got the piping here. I want to get rid of this lumpiness here because it's just going to make the rest of it lumpy. So I'm going to cut the piping cord out. So all I do is break the stitch in, fold it back, cut that piping cord out. Then that's going to lay a lot flatter where I need to staple it and pull more fabric over. So it negates hitting it with hammer and trying to get rid of lumps, taking that out. So anyway, let's do that. So that's the bit piped out. So now fold that over, and that means when I staple this off on the outside back here, it's not so lumpy, and that makes life easier when I'm doing the outside back. Right, put that stapled down here, and I can pull this off. Right, let's cut this round the leg. So, as always, with everything I'm cutting to leave the maximum amount of fabric that I can fold under. So I'll cut from the centre of the leg to that corner. That allows me to be able to fold that. Plenty underneath the fold. Don't want to see any cuts. Fold that to go round the back of the chair in line with this back outside edge. Right. Same with the front. Cut off some of the salvage. Right, so just need to fill that in along the bottom. I'll do that when I turn that over. But that's pretty much one outside arm on. Let's just do this back edge. There you go. Cut that south edge off. So that's one outside arm on. I just need to trim it off on the front, staple this bottom edge over, and it's good to go. Spin it round to the other side. I've then got to get on with the head roll, which I've shown you, the head roll, because I can't do the outside back till the head roll's attached. So I need to strip this. It's got a little bit of piping around this edge. In this case it's not, it's blind welt. So it's basically piping without the piping cord in it. And we need to remake this. You can see here, this is where it goes onto the top of the back and gets screwed in here. So this is an open edge. So these are closed ends, but this open edge. But it's got a piece of timber there that the nail button went into. I've got some decorative nail buttons. I might just bling it up a bit. Or we're going to have nails around the front edge of the facing, some nickel plated nails. So I may put a large nickel plated nail in the end of this here, just so it marries up with the facings. I might do that. I think that's going to be a good idea. So I need to get the other outside arm on, and then I need to get this stripped and sewn up and upholstered, and then it can be attached. So let's get this other outside arm on. Right, unfortunately I wasn't able to do the head roll the same way that it was done by the original manufacturers, purely due to the fact that the vinyl they'd used was very stretchy. So they were able to sew the ends up and then stretch it over the framework. Couldn't do it with this fabric, so I've had to do it in a alternative way, more how we would do a bolster cushion, a feather bolster cushion. So we've still got we've got piping on the ends, but the difference is we have a ruched edge. This edge here is the edge that goes down, so it's slightly teardrop shaped. So it's come out well anyway. And like I said previously, I'm going to put these decorative nails in the end, which will match the smaller version of this that are going to go around the facings. So I just need to tap these into the end, into the timber. And that will cover the ends, like so. So there you go. So one in the other end as well. And that's the head roll done, ready to be attached to the frame itself. So that is next. Then we can get on with putting the outside outside back on the job. Right, so like I said, this head roll is simply attached with two quite long screws because they've got to go through this rail and into the frame. They used a washer on the end of the screw so it doesn't rip into the timber and become loose. So we'll use the original fixing holes See one just there, and we'll just get them started. I may have to turn the item round. So there we have it. Right. Need to give this a bit of a tap on the end because of the lumps. Oh, excuse me, that was vibrating the camera. Right, there you go. So that will be drawn down into the frame. I'm using the frame as a guide to where it's got it screwed in. So let's get these in. There you go. Make sure that's done up nice and tight. We don't want the head roll coming loose in the client because that would not be good. That would be a lot of work just to get in there and tighten the screws up. So let's spin this round. There's your head roll. Right, well, you tell me, would you prefer it with or without the head roll? You know, I don't think it adds anything to the chair personally. I think the chair will look nice without it, but there you go. I think that is slightly off center, so I'm going to adjust that. By simply undoing the screws and moving it across a little bit. More central to me now. Yeah, that's better. Make sure it's done up tight once again. Yep, that's better. So as always, doing the upholstery, if it doesn't look right, do something about it straight away. Trying to do something about it later on is a lot more difficult. And worst case scenario, you don't want it going to the customer and them saying that's not right. So upside down. Once it's upside down, just check those screws. I think I can get a third screw in there, so we'll do that. And it's not going anywhere then. go. So the outside back to go on. That should be relatively straightforward. We'll use the back tacking strip that you've seen me use in previous videos. So we're going to back tack along the top here, the back, make sure it's central, and then we'll use these back tacking strip along the edges to close it off once we put a bit of Lux Bond in there, or a bit of foam. But as we've used Lux Bond on the outside arms, we'll use the same on the outside back. Right, have we got enough here with this pattern? Unfortunately, this is a remnant piece that's been previously cut off. It's not quite the right width. The pattern in it does not allow me enough from this centre to this edge to be able to use that back tacking strip. So we will cut ourselves, or cut myself, a piece of fabric that is suitable. It would mean putting, if I wanted to use that, I could do, but the pattern would be 1/2 inch out to one side. Yes, we would save some fabric, but I've ordered enough fabric to do the job properly, so we'll do it properly. So I'll just cut that piece of fabric and I'll come back to you when I'm back tacking it along there. Right, so we have the piece of fabric. I've marked the centre of the back, so we can line it up with the top of the inside back. Put it to the side. Staple there. So I'm just going to use some cardboard back tacking strip along that top edge. And we need to staple it far enough up the frame to cover all the staples. Keeping the line parallel. There we go. We'll put one in the centre, two in the centre. Turn it over and check our line. So we've got this going right through the centre. It matches perfectly with there, and we're hiding the staples along that edge. So I can fill this in. Just put a few staples just to hold the back tacking strip in place before I put the staples in along the top edge of it. Purpose of back tacking strip is to get a nice crisp edge along their straight line. We don't need to put the staples right next to each other. They can be 3 to 5 mil gap between each one. I'm just gonna tap that, get ready. any lumps. There we go. So that's that top edge done. We're now going to put some Lux Bond over this, and then we can do the back tacking edge. Try to use some of my remnants of Lux Bond. It's been bought and paid for, so we don't want it to go in the bin. We pay for every inch of it, so let's not waste it. So I've used the antique on steel nails for the end of that head roll. So for the facings, we're going to use the antique on steel nails for the facings. We're nearly there now. Now the job starts. I can see light at the end of the tunnel. We can get the job will be done relatively soon to go back to the customer. So I'm stapling the Lux Bond well in from the edge because I don't want it to interfere with the back tacking strip that I'm going to be using. There you go, that's fine. Cut that off. So as always with this, using this back tacking strip, and make sure that we get this line vertical. So I'm going to measure and mark the center. Use the outside edge of the legs as a guide. Mark the center. So put a few staples in there. Come along. Make sure that the pattern is in approximately the same place, pulled over the edge here, where you can see one finger there and finger there, so we know we've got the same tension across it. Keep that line nice and straight. So now we've got to do back tacking strip. Where's my I need to cut this to length. Pliers won't cut through it, but they'll put enough of a mark in it that we can fold it and snap it along there. Put the sheath back down, plastic sheath, give a nice edge. That's a bit long still, so I'm going to cut a bit more off of that, another inch off of it. A bit more awkward to bend now. Should do it. There you go. Put these things in the bin straight away. Very sharp. And when the dog comes in, I certainly don't want him standing on one of them. Right. I've Try not to turn me back to you. In fact, I will try and spin this one so you can hopefully see a bit better what's going on. Right. Steady the camera. So line it approximately to the outside edge, the inside edge, because this rolls in on itself, and just pierce it through this very thick fabric. Not the easiest to push it through, but it will go. Trying to maintain a straight edge and follow the edge of the frame. Cut off some of the salvage. That doesn't help when it falls off. Like I said, very thick fabric, not helping the matter, but go back on through the same holes. Must be getting near lunchtime. Feeling a bit peckish now. Right, so let's fold that over. Make sure we fold the top edge over. Try and eliminate lumps. And it's come out again. Oh, it doesn't want to play fair, this fabric. Just make sure I get it pushed all the way home this time. Right. There we go. There we go. Start at the top, trying to strike it on the tangs rather than in between, because otherwise they can bend and then you don't get the fixing or the secure fixing. So before I knock them home, I need to make the cuts around this leg. Again, I'm cutting to allow as much fabric as I can in both directions. Right, let's knock that home. There you go. sometimes with thick heavy fabric like this, I may be inclined to put a gimp nail in each end of this, because it can theoretically be picked up and we don't want that happening. So let's have a look, see if I've got some suitable colour gimps in stock. Oh, look at that, and I happen to have some bright green. There you go. So let's get them out. So hopefully you can see them. So one in each end, just to make sure that nobody's going to pick that up. Right in the end at the corner. Now there's no way that that's going to be rubbed and come away. The same with the top edge. And there's no way that's come apart now. So I'll just do the other side and we'll come back to you when we're ready to do the facings. Right, unfortunately my mic is packed up, but hopefully you can hear me okay. So it's just on with the facings now, and then this job is done. I've done one facing already, and I'll show you. I'll spin the camera around, I'll explain a bit better. Right, so there's one facing done. Let's get a profile on it so you can see that we've got a nice lump through the facing there. The facings initially were just flat, which just looks naff, and I know why they do it, because they can't be bothered to do it another way. This arm has got a very small P on it here, so I've decided not to try and emulate that P, because it would just probably end up looking like a wonky couple of nails. So we're going to come up and go round the top here, get a nice shape here with our nails. So to create this through the middle, this is a little tip for it. We just use a little bit of Lux Bond and we twist it into a rope, or I twist it into a rope so it stays as a profile, and that's what gives us the nice profile on the facing when that's nailed in. So I'm going to do that. I can show you how we do that, because we fold the fabric back on itself rather than trying to cut it and having it fray and everything like that. So let's spin the camera back round and show you how we do that. Right, so hopefully I'll speak up a little bit so you'll still be able to hear me. So we're taking our fabric and I'm just going to fold that edge, and we're going to staple that rather than have a raw edge, which can cause problems later. So our first line is this row of staples up here. So this is basically a straight line. Fold the upper edge now. Staple that just inside the edge of the timber. can see we're getting this nice profile here, 2 straight lines which are going to get covered by the nails. Bottom edge here, I just go cut it roughly so I can fold it back on itself, approximately 1/2 inch, and that is the bottom of that facing. You can make templates and things like that if you so wish to make sure that they're uniform, but with a bit of experience and a lot of years of doing this, I'm confident that these are going to match. So similar process to the top as we did with the bottom, but bearing in mind the top, we want it to have not sharp corners, we want a curve, because we've got a round arm, so therefore we want round facing on it. It will look odd with a square on the round, in my opinion. So now I need to get the nails out and get these nailed. These are the nails, you've seen me use them before. Okay, just some loose antique on steel nails. So these are all individuals, no strip nails here. So we're gonna nail this around here. It takes a little bit of time, a lot of tapping, but it'll be done. So I'll come back to you and we can show you the finished chair. So it shouldn't be too much longer now, and then I can stop and have some lunch. I'm feeling peckish today. So there we have it. Facings are done. I think the chair looks cracking. What do you think? Look forward to seeing your comments. It's certainly different from the plain black vinyl that it was in. So when you walk into their study, this sat behind the desk, it's certainly going to be draw your eye to it, and I think that's the beauty of this fabric. It was a pleasure to do this chair. It's nice to do something nice. I will just check it over now, check we haven't got any little bits of cotton and so on, and then call the customer and let them know their chair is ready for collection in this particular case. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. As always, these videos are just to show you what's going on in the workshop and how I do things here. They're not meant to be instructional, but if you take anything away from it, that's great. If you have any questions, let me know, and maybe one day we'll be working on one of your projects for you. But in the meantime, please like and subscribe. It means a lot to us, helps us build the channel, and so long as you're interested, we'll keep putting the content out there. So once again, thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you in the next episode. Cheerio.